Okay. I've started recording the meeting. This meeting will be up for view on public purchase in a couple of days as well. Okay. You all are joining us for SAFCA's job order contracting. This is our second round. We're doing JOCs 003 and 004. I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone that's coming in, except Chris Carlton, who's with us from Gordian, and he's going to give us our presentation. And at the end, we'll answer any questions that might come up. If you have questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat box if you're able. And also, if you wouldn't mind, if you're able to also put your name, your company name, phone number, and email as well in the chat so that we know who's here. All right. Chris, are you ready?
About as ready as I'll ever be, I guess. Okay, thank you everybody for coming. This will be kind of fun and entertaining in the fact that we usually like to sit across and look at everybody and you can get a better feel for it, but we'll see how this plays. So like Jennifer said, the SAC Area Flood Control Agency, second year doing this. First year, just getting their feet wet on it. We anticipate a fair amount of volume from them this next year. For those that are familiar with Jock, this will be real quick and easy, or I probably won't be quick and easy, and then I notice that there's a few of you that are not or don't currently have Jock programs or experience. So if you have questions on that, let's all wait till the end. A lot of these slides will answer questions that you may have in an earlier slide. So with that, we'll get going. This is a mandatory pre-bid. There is an attestation form in the bid documents that you will need to make sure you fill out and turn in. Again, information is at the end of this, but let's roll with it. So pre-bid agenda, we're going to give you a little overview, go through some of the documents, some of the process of it, some of the solicitation. We have a construction task catalog, which is basically just a big fat means catalog. It's got all kinds of stuff, and we'll explain some of that. Some thoughts on how to bid your stuff and how you want to review it, adjustment factors, some of the risks of going too low, and then we'll go for some questions. So a JOC overview, obviously the definition of it, it's an indefinite quantity, indefinite delivery. This is a one-year contract there's a particular date that they have. I'm not sure if it's when it's board approval or if it's from your first NTP or a certain date after that, but this is good for 1 year. So the construction task catalog that you're going to be applying a modifier to has got these preset prices. They are in the book. That's today's dollars. The book is developed every year and updated with local costs and labor costs for the area. So a Bay Area book will have different labor rates, for example, than a Sacramento one. The nice thing about this is you can get a substantial number of projects done under one bid as a contractor. You bid this thing, you're good for a whole year. There's up to $2 million worth of work in there, potentially. They don't know what is coming down the pipe. They have different ideas of what they're going to be doing. We'll go a little bit into some of that. But the nice thing is you get to develop a relationship with the people over at SAFCA and do good work, timely, all that good stuff. They keep throwing more down. Obviously, the part of the idea is that this saves time and money in the sense that time is money also. But a lot of these things too, instead of it going out for some crazy competitive bid where you've got 14 pages of contract documents on every one of the projects that they may go, all of that is compiled into this one job order contract. They do the contract once, then they issue just supplementals. Sometimes there's drawings. Sometimes it's just a matter of go make this house disappear and take care of it. The other nice thing is it provides transparency and auditability for the county, for their agency. They can look back and they can see what they've paid for. The way this little puppy works is obviously it's bidding under an umbrella contract, like I said. They're going to advertise, which they're doing. You guys will submit bids based on the construction task catalog. They will award based on that factor that you all have. And then after that, it goes into individual projects. You are not going to be competitively bidding at this point because if you've won a contract, they're just going to come to you and say, here, put this together. They've got multiple project managers, project engineers over there. So you may be dealing with, different quote unquote project managers. But they can throw a multitude of projects at you. And then from there, you move forward on. Why JOC is good for the contractor. Obviously, good work. I cannot stress this enough. Timely proposals, quality work, good proposals. Again, getting in, do what they need to do, working well with the agency, all of those sort of things. It's going to be performance driven. They're going to want to give you more. Be their hero. I always like to say that. Be their hero. It's easier for you to get projects and proposals as you start developing and doing more. Long-term relationship, obviously, kind of touched on that. Developing the partnership. It is not an adversarial partnership. If you come into this thing thinking we're gonna change order things to death, we're gonna come in low. This is not the program. It will not work that way because change orders or supplementals, as we call them, are all based on what is not known. And you will all have an opportunity to walk every job and find all those unknowns so that there's not going to be any, here I can change order this and make a lot of money. They're not negotiated. It's all out of the construction task catalog. A couple other things. It's not just low price. Here's like what I just spoke of too, the ability to provide input during scope development. So like I said, each time you will be out there on site, walking it with myself and whoever the project manager is, and you will discussing all the things. That is the time to bring up, oh, what about this? What about that? Are we going to do something over here? It gets totally clarified. It's all in your proposal when you build it. Obviously, there's no change orders there. Chances of claims lower. Obviously, a good reputation in the neighborhood never can hurt. Why it works for the facility owners. It's fixed price. So they know they've got that catalog and that pricing and your factor, your modifier for a whole year. So it's basically, they know what the price is going to be. It's all in the book there. It's not going to fluctuate crazy or anything like that. The ability to do a substantial number of projects under a single competitively bid contract, which is this. Contractor has financial incentive, obviously responsive, accurate proposals on work, timely closeouts. Future purchases tied to contractor's performance. Something to keep in mind here, there is no obligation for them to award or assign you guys any projects. If you go out there and you don't play well with others, they don't have to play with you. That's the beauty of that. On that same flip side, if they like to play with you and you play well, you know what? Katie bar the door. You guys can go have a good time. They can use other methods. So this is not an exclusive. So should they look at a project and say, hey, we want to go out to competitively bid, put it on the street, or run it through JOC, they have those options. So this is just another tool in their tool belt. Oops. Some of the small business, they don't have a lot of this that it's included on it, but it does give that opportunity that you can develop that subcontractor relationship, and it's all tied in with this contract. Again, the transparency, everybody can see what they're doing, schedule flexibility, no shelf life, 1 year, fast procurement, so they can, geez, just 2 weeks ago, there was something that needed to happen pretty much in 24 hours, and we're able to turn it around and get a contractor on site and approved to get going. Construction tasks, your construction documents. Take a look. There's a lot of good stuff in there. What you're just seeing here is construction task catalog, one of them. If you print those out, they're going to be actually thicker than that. And then the technical specs. Those things are developed for the Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency. They have a lot of generic stuff in there, but anything that has been, that they wish to have identified specific for them, they can add into that thing. So it's real important you guys take a look at that. Construction task catalog. It's a catalog of pre-priced construction tasks, organized by CSI section, local labor, local materials, local equipment costs. So when these things are updated, we have a team that goes out, phone calls, and gets all the information updated. What's the current labor rates going for? This is something to keep important. If labor rates change from the date of the publication of the book, it is your responsibility to make sure that you include that in your modifier or factor that you're going to be using to bid on. The rates do not change. So, and I'm going to just use some generic numbers. If today a plumber gets $2 an hour, the book is published today, the book is based on $2 an hour for a plumber. If in July, excuse me, it goes up to $3 an hour, the book does not change for that duration, that 1 year. So keep that in mind. The tasks in the book also represent the scope of the work for the contract. And you will see that, you know, you can build a wall, a sheetrock wall, or the line items are in there. Sorry. A couple of things to keep in mind in the front of the construction task catalog, and I believe yes, they are in there, is this about the CTC. It is really kind of important as you go through putting together your modifier, that you take a look in here and see what is included and what isn't included. We call this the rules of the game. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as the big note. But the important thing is to make sure that you're getting paid for appropriate tasks. There's certain things that have to do with distances, heights, what is considered in the base, and then what you would use for to add on, because they have modifiers for those. One back. All right. So, kind of as I had said a little earlier, first thing that they're going to do, this is the assumption that somebody's won a bid and they've got the contract documents all put in place, and then it's time to go get some work done. Project manager is going to call us all up, and we're going to go out and we're going to go to the site. And we're going to stand there and all have a talk about all the pros and the cons and solve all the problems that we can foresee. Potentially there's other problems that we won't foresee, but we'll find those down the road. But the idea is to find them, everything you can now. We're going to request a proposal from you guys. You guys will go back and you'll build the proposal out of the construction task catalog with the line items there based on the scope of work. It goes through a proposal review where we look for it for auditability. We want to make sure that you don't have excessive quantities or items that are not in there, or potentially things that you might be missing also. Again, this is not just a, we take your proposal and we beat it up. If you're really good, we won't be able to beat it up and we won't be able to add anything to it. But a lot of times, we want you to be able to make the fair dollar that you should be making on it. So once a proposal is agreed upon, then they issue a job order. Sorry, my mouse is a little touchy. Real quick and easy, you'll see that in our construction task catalog, this one's just curbs and gutters. Don't necessarily lock in on the prices, what they are right there, because like I say, the books are updated and this is not necessarily updated. But you can see we've got the CSI format. They've got a description of it, tells you what it is, what's included and what is not. These are important to take a look at, because then you can say, okay, I can see that it's got delivery of the concrete, some form, some rebar, certain things like that. And this is a cast in place, an assembly. Then depending on your quantities, or other things, you may have modifiers that get added into it. Other thing too, kind of looking here, is you can look at this, and this includes labor, material, and equipment for this location. Something I really want to drive home is you need to understand this is the direct cost. The cost that it takes to perform that task at that moment, right then and there. It does not include any profit, overhead, other factors that you guys may have on there. So in this case, it would be, if it takes 15 minutes for a concrete mason to do all of this, that's what it's paying for, that direct cost at its lowest denominator. Keep that in mind. A lot of the factors too, the descriptions have demo prices. Yeah, see, this one is not updated compared to the one we just looked at. So again, don't get stuck on the prices. But what this one is trying to show you, it's important that you just grab all the appropriate tasks. If you had gone in and just said, "Oh, 4-inch cast place concrete," that's good. Oh, wait, I only get $2,000 for this, and it's going to cost me $3,000. Oh my God, I've got problems. Well, start looking for all of the other stuff that it truly takes to put that and make it a complete assembly. Quantities, your base, you got a backhoe to mobilize, excavation, loading the material, hauling it off, damp fees. Well, now all of a sudden, from what you thought was $5 a square foot, it's gone to 10. And again, these are sample only. So, kind of going back into the construction task catalog, unit prices are for complete in-place construction. They include the labor and materials through the equipment. They do not add, you're not to add labor, what they call repointing, basically as to add to it. So again, it's that direct cost to do that specific thing at that specific time with that specific material. Cost and delivery to the site, unloading, storage, handling, up to 2.5 stories. Again, this is all going to be in this thing here. For new equipment, i.e. you put in a new air conditioner, the price for that air conditioner includes all of these things. So you can't go in there because if you have an old piece of equipment or you're asked to balance another piece of equipment or parts that are going onto that, there's line items for those. Fasteners, anchors, all that kind of stuff, for new work, that's all included. Just as an example, windows, doors include sealants and caulks. Demo prices include loading into the dumpster. Different things. You're not going to get them all split up and try and get paid different for them. Install quantities. Waste is included in unit pricing. That's kind of a tough one. And I even on this side of the fence, I always have a tough one on that one because we all know that, you got to buy a piece of culvert pipe and it's, 20 feet long and you only need 2 feet. Then we can always have a discussion on it. But something like that, as a general rule, waste is included in unit pricing. Assembly prices take precedent over the component pricing. By that, what they mean is you will go in there and you will see 3/4-inch conduit with wire in metal stud walls. That would take precedent over going over, because they also have in there, you could go in there and say, okay, I need 12 gauge THHN wire. I need 2,000 feet of it. I need 400 feet of 3/4 conduit. I need 2 elbows. I need couplers. So you're trying to build the assembly. You can't do that. You need to go to the assembly prices. Some restrictions for masonry. Dumpsters are a separate task. Moving furniture less than 55%. Incidental sort of stuff. There's always going to be some sort of incidentals in there that, again, these are things that you want to be thinking about when you're building your modifier or factor that you're going to be putting together, because unfortunately, you're not going to know if you're going to have a whole lot of jobs that have furniture moving, but you know that this is something that potentially could be in place. Concrete pours, you don't get paid for the guy to send around afterwards to make sure that it sets up properly. That's going to be all part of what you're doing. Barricades, minor signage, portable toilets, field office equipment for the contractor's use. That is all included in your factor. If for some reason you're doing an office remodel and the owner says to you, hey, I need you to provide some portable toilets for, my staff, by all means, you get paid for it. Your field office and everything it takes to support your staff is included in your factor. Layout and site engineering for the work itself. Minor engineering, I'll make sure you understand that. If you have to go out there and have somebody shoot major elevations and shoot pogs and redo the whole thing, that's not covered. Okay, so I would say there's pretty near everything in the book that could possibly be there, but there is some things that aren't. So for some things that you don't have in the construction task catalog, maybe as something very specific, that we do have a means of being able to identify it and you priced for it. Here's kind of a formula, 3 quotes, that whole sort of thing. Hopefully we won't have to use those, but there's the information. It is in the construction task catalog too. Some more of the stuff on pre-price, which I don't think is important, but that's okay. Technical specs. Obviously, we all know what tech specs are about. Has to do with the quality of the workmanship and the products that they are calling out for. Obviously, if the agency calls out for a specific brand or make or something like that, that's going to take precedent over what is in the specifications. But these have pretty much the standards of what they're going to accept. Why this is all the way here, I don't know. This is some of your front-end documents. Obviously, you guys probably saw this as you went to the public purchase site. They are going to, obviously it has to be, California law says awarded bid off of competitive pricing. So you have 2 factors that you're going to have to do. One is normal working time. The other is other than normal. Obviously, it's Saturday, Sunday, holidays, or off hours in the evening stuff. You got a big spread in here, so it makes it kind of nice. The adjustment factors apply to all the tasks. So you don't get to go in there and go, oh, that one doesn't work, and I'm not going to use my factor on that one. It's your factor times the line item, and that's how it works. For award criteria, they have a weighted formula. I think it's also in there. Obviously, it's going to be awarded to the lowest responsive bidder. As I said earlier, first off, they cannot identify, because honestly, they may or may not know what is coming down the pipe. It could be, as we've seen from last year, they end up picking up a lot of houses, a lot of house demos, potentially. No promises. Have to have an A license. Minimum contract, 0 value. So it behooves you to do everything you can to make sure that you get all your proposals in a timely fashion and all your documents, and be right there and be a tentative form. Maximum's $2 million. I'm sorry, 1 year. Your bid bond and your performance bond, you're going to have to bond it up to that $2 million in case. Something to keep in mind when you guys are putting all your factors together too. Site conditions differ. The scope can change. I mean, you could be tearing out 36-inch pump pipes, or you could be leveling a lot, or you could be clearing and grubbing a hillside. You could be doing office remodel too for them. So keep that in mind. Supplementals, like I said, are based off of their supplementals. It's not a change order in the sense that, if something is not, let's say you, going back, messing myself up. Let's say you open up a wall and you find out it's got asbestos in it. That's an unknown. But if we know that it is, or we have a suspect, we'll test and we'll get it done. So again, change orders are not the way to go. And change orders are all going to be done the same as your initial proposal. So it's not like you have an opportunity to try and make a killing on a change order. It's going to be out of the construction task catalog based off of the tasks that need to be done with your factor or modifier. Permits, filings, and things like that they may need. A lot of times they'll do them. If you need to do it, though, you get a reimbursed 100%. No additional markup on it. Liquidated damages, I believe it's on a sliding scale, yes, and based on the job order by job order. So LDs, you have a big job that could be a time crunch one. It could have high LDs, where you could have something that doesn't. Of course, we all know you don't want to go into LDs because then that means you're not performing to level that is going to hopefully get you more work, right? What you get from Gordian. So we have an internet-based software currently in the cloud. It's a good system. Once you get familiar with it, it becomes quite easy to move around into. Obviously, as we learn new programs, that's the learning curve. But it makes it easy for your tracking dates and forms and subcontractor lists and stuff. Training is provided. If you don't know how to use it, I know a lot of you guys out there have already used this stuff. We get you some training, no problem. And I'm available all times for that. Something else to remember that you have to include in your factor. 1% is a contractor's license fee for using that software and for the training and everything else that goes along with it. So when you guys sit down and start looking at what your percentages you want to charge, remember, one of that is going to end up paying for just this service. So here are some of the other nice things about it. Paperless, efficient, training, software. Remember that it's included in your fee. So to figure out your adjustment factor, this is my recommendation. Take a project that you've already done in the past, maybe something that you competitively bid on and got your subcontractors and stuff, and then sit down and go into the construction task catalog and start building it out of that. And then go ahead and add your overhead and profit, calculate your adjustment factor. So here's kind of a sample one. Again, I would recommend you don't take this because you don't know what your sub costs are or anything else like that. Take one that you've already done, do the autopsy on it, take that and convert it over into the construction task catalog, and very easily will tell you, where you need to be factor-wise. So this one, they've got a whole bunch of different things, some plumbing, outdoor things. I always will figure out what your hours that you get to work on it. Go into the construction. Here's Hawaii. Here's kind of an example of how one starts to look when it goes into the cloud or the construction or the proposal. So they can take a look and put everything in there. You put it's not quite set up the way I'd want it, but quantities and everything else. Too quick on the roll. Here's kind of another one, just to kind of give you an idea, like I was talking about. Take quotes from a direct one, that's something that you've already done. Figure it out. This is how they've just kind of done this one. They're looking at direct costs from the CTC. Okay. This one, they're saying it was your direct cost were $65,000. And as I always refer to it as the book, gave you 66. So you think, sweet. Well, you got other things that you need to put in on there, right? You want to make money. You don't want to just, hell, that won't even keep your lights on for you. In this case, we're using 10% and 10%. These are things that you need to figure out for yourself, what you're comfortable with. So CTC, so just based off of that, where you really wanted to be, what the book gave you, this would be your factor. Again, this is only an example. You need to figure these out to yourself, and you can divide that back and come up with this number. The way your bid sheet's going to look, want to make sure you write them in very clearly out to 4 decimal points. Okay. Even if it's a 0, even if you want to go 1, 2, 0, 0, 0, fill the boxes, every one of them. So again, normal working hours, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, except holidays, of course. And after that would be other than normal, and that's all the other time in between. So the award criteria, here's kind of the fun thing. So if you look at this and dissect a little bit, you're going to look and see this is multiplied by 80% and this one's 20. So just kind of as an assumption, not a guarantee, that they're assuming that 80% of the work is going to happen during normal working hours. This is just for bid purposes. Everything that we've seen over the last year was during normal work hours. Does that mean that next year it might not be off hours? It could be. But this is just for bid purposes. Get those two, divide it back in, add that one, and this is what you're going to end up coming with. This is going to be your award criteria figure based off it. Again, samples only. Some bid considerations, something that you guys got to think about. Incidental drawings or sketches all day long. You know, you look at something and you say, hey, we could do it this way. You get a pencil. We're not talking about stamped engineered drawings, nothing, all of that sort of stuff. Just basic drawings. Justify your calculations and explain your detail of work. So if you decide that you need, 4,000 of something and it really only looks like it needs 3,000, the question's going to be asked, explain it. Why does that? And you need to be able to justify it. You need to be able to back up your proposal, basically. Same with the detailed scope of work. Why do you need that particular piece of equipment? How come you're doing it that way? Something to kind of keep in mind is the owner should pay for the least expensive means to perform a task. So if you wanted to bring in a gold-plated pair scissor lift into a building to go 6 feet off the ground, you cannot put that scissor lift in your proposal. The work can be performed off of a ladder, and that's what the owner should be paying for. So you just got to be able to explain it. That's all. Keep in mind that sometimes when you go fishing, you don't catch fish. So there'll be some proposals you'll put together and it may get canceled for some reason. And I keep moving through it. They may get canceled for some reason in the sense that something changes or it's over budget or some sort of thing like that. It can get canceled. Keep in mind too, your margins on the construction task catalog vary. You may find that if you do your own in-house electrical, you may be finding that your electrical tasks pay you better than your construction ones. Just keep that in mind when you're looking through it. Some projects are going to be more profitable than others. Hopefully, then the expectations are that they're all going to be profitable, but you're not going to buy a new Lamborghini based off of it. You need to have a functioning local office, hold the required license. Again, keep in mind, 1% pays for the license fee to access the system, the software. Unless otherwise approved, SAFCA on job order by job order basis, the contractor shall self-perform a value not less than 25% of the original total job order price. You're looking for some self-performance in there. 25% is a pretty minor amount, but keep that in mind. They can issue and say, oh yeah, this is a very specialized thing. Yeah, you don't do it. We have to have ABC company that's doing it, that's a subcontractor for you. We understand. That can work. More considerations. Adjustment factors, of course, determines the lowest bidder. Again, keeping in mind, they have 2 contracts going out. So I think you guys are all smart enough to know that you want to be, everybody wants to be the second one, right? So don't race to the bottom, race to second place. The adjustment factor is used for all the individual work orders. Here's kind of a fun one too to keep in mind. The unit price times the quantity times the adjustment factor. is going to be the total for that task. So the unit price, the price out of the CTC, quantity of actual what's getting done and installed, not 4,000 when it should be 400, your adjustment factor, and that's it. When they put them all together, then this and gives you an NTP, this becomes a lump sum for the scope of work. It's kind of important to remember because there's not going to be any going back and saying, oh, I didn't have that in my proposal. You have the scope of work. We all walked through it. We defined it. Everybody knows that this is what the expectations are. That is what you are going to, your lump sum proposal now becomes to perform all of that work. So that's why it's really important that you remember to try and capture all of that stuff because it becomes reflective in your proposal of the scope of work. Low adjustment factors. You really want to be careful there. Obviously, arguments, unsupportive tasks, exaggerated quantities, delays, longer for proposal reviews. Nobody likes that. I mean, the whole idea of this program is to be able to get in, get out, get her done. Adversarial relationship. You will be put on the bench. That's it. No second chance to improve your margin. It's not like, if you want to bid it again next year, you can do that, but it's not like you get to go halfway through and say, oh, let's renegotiate. Potential, 2 million. Focus on that. Hopefully we can max get everybody out on it. Again, as I said earlier, unit prices are direct costs to perform the work only. They don't include any other costs or markup or things that you might want to put in there. That direct cost to perform the task. It does not include the truck for the guy to drive out there on site with his hammer and drive 2 nails. Pays for him to stand there, drive 2 nails. Know those in the big note, as we said, or the general information there. Contractor performance drives volume. Said it enough. Accurate proposals, clean sites. Be the hero. Be the hero. Here's another one that I kind of add. Calculate your adjustment factor to perform the work, not get the contract. Because guess what? If you get that contract and your factor is crazy and you got to start inflating stuff, you won't get the work. So it was a lose-lose. You lose, the agency loses. They lose the capacity to do that much work. So kind of try and keep that in mind. Calculate it to do the work. Mandatory pre-bids. That's what this is. There is a attestation, page 10 of your docs there, that needs to get emailed over to Jennifer. September 23rd, no later than. Fill it out. It's kind of like basically your sign in that you've watched this. Not only for you, the ones that are here participating, but again, anybody else that may watch this before that September 23rd date, that document has to be in there because we want you to know what you're getting in for. I mean, it's not any brain surgeon, but if you haven't done this type of work before, job order contracting, it might be a little bit different and throw you off. You just want to be familiar with it. Obviously, all your bid forms have to be completed. Here's a link for them. You have to register to get into there. Here's kind of a fun one. Gotta love the times that we're in, right? No public bid openings. So it's really important that you drop your bid off at that address between this time and that time on the day of the bid. And then you'll be kicked out of the building. County agency, that's the way they go. We're not going to all sit in the same room again like we used to do. And then they'll do a live stream of it after 2 o'clock. And here's the link for that puppy. And again, this is all on your bid documents. Again, this is critical. If you do not have this turned in and you show up and drop off a bid for the bid opening, it will not be accepted. So this is very important. Obviously, the recording of this will be available. Questions, concerns, sent to Jennifer over here at email by September 18th, 2 p.m. That way she can put out an addendum. We'll have a little bit of time after this. We'll throw some question and answers out, or if anybody has any questions or some clarifications that will be included in that addendum, if we have any questions, so that everybody has it. After that time, first off, all questions got to go to Jennifer. If you have a Gordian Jock related one, you still need to shoot it over to her so that we can make sure that everybody's got the same opportunities and the same information that's been provided. So her email address, questions by that time, bids due October 1st, 2 p.m. at that address. And that is all I have. So, Jennifer?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm here.
Did we have any questions that you...
Yeah. Nothing in the chat box so far, but I'm going to go ahead and unmute everyone so you all have a chance to ask a question. I do ask that if you don't have any questions, if you go ahead and mute yourself, that way there's not a lot of background noise. But if you have any questions, let us know. We have a couple of people on from SAFCA that we can hopefully answer any of your questions. And also, if you're able, and you have the WebEx screen, if you can add your name and your company name and your email to the chat, so we have that information, that would be great as well.
Too easy. No questions, huh?
Doesn't look like it. And again, all this information will be posted on public purchase. Oh, I see a question. So start date tentatively. The bids are due October 1st. We will be taking this to our board for approval on mid-October. What's the date on that? It's going to be October 15th is our board date. And then we'll be doing contract documents, sending that to the two approved contracts. We'll be sending those out. And the start date tentatively for the 365 days is going to be 30 days from the time that we send the contract documents. And then we'll be working with NTPs and getting those started with any work that we may have coming.
And just to kind of throw in, your start date could be sooner, because as soon as she sends you those documents, you turn those around and get them back in. It's go time. Now that the project managers and engineers at SAFCA know that they've got a contractor available and they can start throwing work. Mm-hmm. So, keep that in mind. Again, it's all part of that be the hero. Be the hero. Nobody else?
Nope, doesn't look like we have any other questions.
Okay, just remember to get that attestation form in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Look forward to seeing your numbers. Bye.